their criminal activity on the world. These are the people approaching South Africa in that ship. The importance of Professor Mbata's work, that he takes it from its European origin and show you the making of the mentality that went into the situation of the South Africa of today. Now, when they arrived, Koshan people, Koshan San people, greeted them, gave them land, they had plenty of land. I'm not using it all, you might as well have some. Cattle, you need some cattle, you got to eat somewhere, you're a human being. See, our ability to recognize the human being that's of people, one of the finest traits in our history. It is a trait that everybody's taking advantage of, we haven't understood, and sometimes we take advantage of. Our human being trait. All right. They came in. The Africans saw some of them without women, and being the perfect host that he is, gave him women. Can you be more naive than that? Can you be a better host than that? The African did not know he was now dealing with a person who would come into his house, rape his wife after eating up the food she prepared for him, and enslave the host that invited him in the first place. Didn't know he dealt with the European mentality. We are not ready to deal with the icebox mentality of the European and the tropical and the sun mentality of the African. And why the brothers who are Muslim cannot distinguish between Islam and Arabism, they're not ready to deal with the sand mentality of the Arab. In dealing with the Europeans and the Arabs, you're dealing with a mentality that lacks humane substance. Okay, now, they have arrived. They're not satisfied with the amount of cattle that the Koshan people have given them. They would mistakenly call the people Hottentots and butchers. That's the illegitimate word today. All right, now, they're not satisfied. Are they going to take some? Not satisfied with the amount of women. Go take some more. Not satisfied with the amount of land. Go take some more of that. Now you see the trouble. Those little people fought 11 wars. Unrecorded and yet recorded and yet unknown to history. Called the Kappa War. And they call it the nigger war. That's their word for nigger. 11 wars gave a splendid account of themselves. These were the wars that came before the Zulu War. After these wars, the British came and dared to move inland, because if you saw this stupid movie called Chaka Zulu, you would understand the distortion of African life by white. Now, other wars would occur now. You got to break these wars up into categories. The Kappa wars are the wars with the Koshan people, the wars of resistance. Then you got to look at the Zulu wars of consolidation. When the Zulus are fighting to consolidate all the blacks in South Africa to save South Africa from the whites. These were the wars that started with the rise of charter. After after Clarke, the death of Clarke. Still misunderstood because you got a Hollywood version of Clarke. Clarke was fighting for the same thing the whites were fighting in the American Revolution: consolidation of land to save it. Same thing they were fighting for in the Civil War: the unification of land to save the nationness. But when blacks are fighting for the identical same thing, they become savages. When whites are fighting it, they become patriots. Yeah. Now, Clarke had told his half-brothers who assassinated him ceremoniously, but we don't have time to get into this. People said Clarke was murdered. Clarke was ceremoniously put to death. Now that's the truth of it. All right, now, he told them, though you call me saint, though you call me tyrant, though you call me God, though you call me devil, in part I am all of these things, but I'm the greatest hope you have, to be free of white man rule in this country. They missed the point then. South Africa is missing the point now. Now, why did I go such a long way around to say that my support for PAC has led me to seriously question the stipulation that PAC and ANC don't ever supposed to be on the same platform? They're both African. They're both fighting for the freedom of Africa. Why can't they be on the same platform? If we can't be on the same platform, there's something wrong with one of them. Now look at the Mandela case. Look at what happened to Mandela in the light of that division. This is a setup. Right in South Africa movement, so that when the whites move in, they can put one against the other to conquer all. Do not think that resistance is something that the people in South Africa had a monopoly on. It continued in Botswana, what's now Botswana. It continued in the mountainous country, the sulfur. It continued in Southwest. But the continuation of this resistance that lasted from 1652, when the Boers got there, to the last Zulu War in 1906 under the leadership of Bambata and the old King Sigalanda. It had lasted over 200 years. The longest resistance has been in South Africa. You will always find the greatest prohibitions against race at that place where the greatest amount of race mixing has already occurred. I've done a comparative study between the mentality of South Africa and the mentality of the American Southerner. It is downright frightening. After men have violated your women, created a generation of bastards who are confused between their mother's people and their southern people. Then they make a law we should be doing things like that. Just like St. Augustine, I call him the Holy Sinner, who became a saint later. But before he became a saint, he liked the ladies so much he moved into one of their houses. He just lived there. He didn't just visit. Had a child. This is not what the lecture about. The life of saints before they became saints. May not be the proper way to tell it in the flesh. My main point is that in Southern Africa, as it entered the 20th century, they now produce a group of missionary Africans, missionary trained Africans, appealing to the good conscience the Christian conscience of the European without knowing that the European had no conscience at all. None then, none now. He had a sick craving for power. Yeah. And he wanted it by any means necessary. Okay, now as we entered the 20th century, South Africa began to produce some very able missionary trained Africans who went beyond their training. One was a great Bantu editor, John Tingo Jabeki. His son Don Tingo carried on. Another great editor, Saul Platje. Then in the midst of this, in the early formation of the ANC, around 1913, they got weak. And in the early 20s, a brilliant young man from Nyasaland came into Southern Africa and formed the greatest trade union movement ever formed in Africa. Technical people union. Named Clement Kadele. Clement Kadele made the mistake of turning to England, Labour Party, to help him figure we're all brothers in Labour. So Ramsay MacDonald, then Prime Minister of England, then a liberal or radical, was Prime Minister. So Kadele naively not understand that a white radical and a black radical are two different radicals. And they're radical about two different things. Whites are radical against other whites because they don't have the power of other whites. And they ain't thinking about you because you're not on that agenda. Now you've seen the Prime Minister Russian and the President of the United States meet and talk about the future of the whole world. And don't even mention African people at all. Not on that agenda. And yet they can mention little Israel. All the Jews in the world are less than 1/2 of the black population in the United States. They mention little Israel. Israel is white and got its political scheme together. You're black and don't have yours together. That's all. That's what it's at. Either you got a political program, or you can't bring your message to the table because you're not due at the table of power unless you got some power that sent you there. And all you have to do, as much as you got so much that you haven't organized and recognized, all you have to do is to organize it and say, that's my representative, he speaks for us. With all the mineral wealth in Africa, all the manganese, all the bauxite, all the cobalt, you can't set off an atomic bomb or a hydrogen bomb without taking something out of ours. Africa could organize and stop Western industry in its tracks. Pull down the tracks. America uses 80% of the chromium in the whole world and don't produce 1 pound. You get no chromium.